at the types of writing task 1 questions. As you would have learned from the previous lessons by now, writing task 1 is part of the essays you would have to write during the writing session of the IELTS test. There are types of questions that you're likely to encounter, and by now you know that you have to write a minimum of 150 words in 20 minutes. So let's go straight into the types of questions you get to see for writing task 1. You may find a statistical information question, process, order, cycle, or map, plan, position, or shape. Would look at these into detail. Statistical information questions basically deal with numerical data or quantifiable abstract concepts. So they may not be figures necessarily, such as percentages or time or money, but you may deal with abstract concepts such as reasons, such as recommendations, such as effects, and these would be quantified by numbers. So they also come under statistical information questions. And examples are tables, pie charts, graphs. They may be line or bar. And for statistical information questions also, there are two types. We have dynamic and static. Let's look at these also. So what are the features of dynamic statistical information questions? These these types of statistical information questions deal with multiple time frames. So there may be two or more periods of time, and these may be years, they may be days of the week, they may be months of the year, or they may be minutes, seconds, hours, whatever unit of measurement you find in there would definitely be two or more time frames to deal with when you're looking at dynamic statistical information questions, and so you are likely to look at trends and patterns. So there's an example, and this question looks at mode of transport used to travel to and from work in one European city in 1960, 1980, 2000. So because we have three time frames over here, we have 3 years over here. That is why this falls under dynamic statistical information questions. Then we have the static ones. These also deal with numbers, but like I said when I was explaining statistical information questions, they may deal with abstract terms. And for this one, we are looking at an abstract concept which has been quantified in percentages. And this is static because it has no time frame. So for static statistical information questions, you may deal with just a single time frame or no time frame at all. And for this question, for example, we have no time frame at all, and it's looking at reasons for cycling and driving to work. So these two make up statistical information questions. Let's move on to look at the second category, process, order, or cycles. Process questions would show you a series of steps which are engaged or which are employed in the creation of a product. And it may be process looking at the manufacturing of soap, of bricks, of bread, or any other product for that matter. Other questions look at arrangement in terms of levels. So you're looking at first, second, third in that particular order, or it could be reverse, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th in that order as well. Whatever it is, you'll be dealing with levels in relation to other levels as well. Then we have cycle questions, and these mainly deal with living things. So you're looking at the changes that occur in the life of an organism. Let's look on let's move on to look at some examples of these three types that we've just looked at. So this is an example of a process question, and this deals with the production and processing of milk products for commercial sale. So it gives you arrows to tell you the next stages till the entire process is done. Then this is another question, and this is focusing on levels in the hiring process. So you go from the very first to the last submission of application, which is the first, and the last stage is either permanent position offered or not employed. So this is an example of an order question. Then we have cycle question. So this is telling us about the life cycle of a silkworm, telling you what happens in each of the stages of the life of a silkworm. So these are examples of the three questions: process, order, and cycle. Let's move on to look at the last type. We may have plan, position, map, or shape. And let's look at what these also deal with. For maps, plans, positions, they would you would have to look at a representation of an area of land or sea showing physical features, cities, roads, etc. And you have to look at them to write the essay you're supposed to write. This is an example of a map, plan, or position question giving you the plan of an area. So you see you have 1950, 1980, and 2010. At this stage, it's important to know that you wouldn't always have to deal with two or three maps in a particular question. Sometimes you have to just deal with one at a particular time. So there are different types of map, plan, position questions where you deal with either one map, two, three, four, or to whatever number you have in the question. Then for shape, you would be looking at the external form of a fin. And here's an example telling you about a cutting tool used by ancestors at two different ages. So we have 1.4 million years ago and then 0.8 million years ago. So you're dealing with shape over here. You see the changes or the change that occurs with regard to the shape of the cutting tool. So these are the three types of questions that you get to encounter when you are dealing with writing task one question. Thank you and see you in the next